A very hard welcome to the Spanish Foreign Affairs Minister José Manuel Albares, who's joining us from Madrid. Your Excellency, you met today with the Arab foreign ministers, including the Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan, and you also met with the EU Foreign Policy Chief José to discuss more about the situation in Gaza. And the theme of the meeting was the two-state solution. My question for you, Your Excellency, what are the main outcomes of these meetings, and can they help in achieving a clear two-state solution?
On the one hand, we have joined a common Euro-Arab Islamic voice in favor of this immediate ceasefire, in favor of the release of hostages, and in favor of opening on land borders crossing to get access, unimpeded access for humanitarian aid. And secondly, we have been focusing on implementing the two-state solution. The time to talk about the two-state solution is gone. It's not time for words, but for action. And we have been discussing concrete actions with a timetable to implement the two-state solution and to make real a Palestinian, realistic and viable state.
Nearly a year has passed since the start of the Gaza war. Spain's position is steadfast in its full support for the Palestinian cause. How can the ceasefire in Gaza be implemented, and how to ensure the civilians' protection?
The ceasefire is an imperative. 40,000 Palestinian civilians killed is more than enough. And we must get this ceasefire to make sure that this humanitarian assistance that is so desperately needed by the Palestinian population get unimpeded access. All of us, the whole international community, must be supporting this idea and the mediation of the different countries that are involved, Egypt, Qatar, the United States. And also we have to recall that we must uphold international law. The International Court of Justice had issued measures indicating that the military operation in Rafah must stop immediately. And this is binding and compulsory for everyone, including Israel. So both through the international community in our bilateral relations and in multilateral and United Nations upholding ICJ, we must focus on this ceasefire.
Yes, Your Excellency, with the Spain's recognition of the State of Palestine, coinciding with the recognition of Ireland and Norway on May 28, what is the significance of your country's recognition of Palestine as a state? How will Spain's support have a political and humanitarian effect on Palestinians?
The decision has been taken because of justice, because we want to protect the two-state solution. And the only way to protect it right now is to recognize the state of Palestine, because we already recognize the state of Israel. We have done it also because we don't think that the Palestinian people must be condemned to be eternally people of refugees, and also out of pure humanity for all those civilians that today will go to bed in Gaza not knowing if they will be alive tomorrow. Now we want to give concrete steps that shows that this is not just an idea in the clouds, but this is something real. That's why we have we have accepted the appointment for the first time of a Palestinian ambassador in Spain. In November, we will have a high-level meeting, government to government, between the government of Palestine and the government of Spain. And I think that their recognition not only protects the two-state solution, but it's also going along with international law, and it's a way of giving hope to the Palestinian people. We don't have to resign ourselves to accept that the only possible relation between Palestinians and Israelis is the violence.
Your Excellency, let's talk about the EU position on the war in Gaza. Will there be a strong European position to push for a ceasefire there?
We are all on the same page concerning the implementation of the two-state solution, the need for a ceasefire, the need for a release of hostages, and the need for unimpeded access of humanitarian aid. There are those like Spain that are also in the leading pushing the other to go a little bit forward. Now we are in a reflection that once that we have agreed on principles, we have to see how or what we can do to implement those decisions that we have taken.
Does Spain support any action by the ICC, the International Criminal Court, against Israeli officials for committing alleged war and crimes in Gaza?
We are, of course, a country that really supports international law and UN body. ICJ, that we have strongly support, and we are intervening in the South African case. And of course, ICC. We are funding ICC and General Prosecutor Khan, that I've met several times, to make sure that he can do properly his work. And wherever he decides, of course, we will follow it. We are part of ICC, and we believe in international law.
Your Excellency, regarding the current situation in the West Bank, how does the government of Spain see what is happening there in the region? Are you concerned that the Gaza scenario will be replicated in the West Bank?
We are very concerned for the situation in the West Bank. We see how day by day violence against the Palestinians continue. We have put sanctions on violent Israeli settlers. And we see this humanitarian catastrophe going on in Gaza, and in parallel, the violence going up and rising in the West Bank, and even a risk of the war spreading regionally into Lebanon. So yes, we are very concerned and very worried.
The Prime Minister of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, announced a few days ago about the holding of the first bilateral summit between Spain and Palestine at the end of this year. Your Excellency, in your opinion, how can such a summit contribute to reaching a solution to this Palestinian issue?
It will give hope to the Palestinian. It will allow everyone to see that the Palestinian National Authority is there to deliver to the Palestinian people. And this is something very complicated for them, because taxes are being withheld by Israel, the taxes collected by Israel. And at the same time, it will allow to give a concrete action to that recognition of the state of Palestine. We will be able to talk government to government, minister to minister, on different fields to see what the Palestinian National Authority needs. And of course, we will do the most to try to meet their demands.
Considering the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza, Spain pledged continued support for UNRWA. To what extent, Your Excellency, will Spain continue to support UNRWA, bearing in mind that you mentioned in one of your meetings that the UN agency is indispensable and that funding helps alleviate the terrible humanitarian situation in Gaza?
Since November of last year, we have given almost 50 million euros. We are not only maintaining our finance to UNRWA, but even increasing it, because the needs are greater. I repeat what I have been saying. UNRWA is an indispensable body of UN. There is no other entity that could do for the Palestinian refugees what UNRWA does. And what they do is basically given urgent feeding and education. If we want to give hope and to show humanity towards the Palestinian refugees, we must support UNRWA. And I commend the work that they are doing in Gaza, but not only in Gaza, in many other countries, in Egypt, in Jordan, in Lebanon. And also, I want to indicate that the heavy toll of death of the people that are working for UNRWA, it's something that is completely unacceptable.
Let's move now to the bilateral relationship between Saudi Arabia and Spain, which lasted for almost 67 years. How do you view the bilateral relationship between the two countries, especially within the framework of the Saudi Vision 2030 that was announced by Prince Mohammed bin Salman?
A few minutes ago, I had a bilateral meeting with my colleague, Faisal bin Farhan, here in Madrid. He attended the meeting, and he has goodwill and good thoughts about what we should do. And we were talking about the excellent moment in our bilateral relation and how we are more and more moving forward towards a real strategic partnership between Spain and Saudi Arabia. On the one hand, we really recognize the stabilization role of Saudi Arabia in the region and the constructive role that the country plays. And on the bilateral, we are increasing the fields of cooperation in which we are working. We have a very fruitful business exchanges on both sides. More and more, we have also universities and cultural exchanges. And the last time I had the chance to be in an official visit in Riyadh, I was really amazed by all the different layers of our relation and all the potential that we have.
In 2018, 6 agreements were signed between Saudi Arabia and Spain in several fields, including defensive, air transport and the education. Perhaps we should first talk about the cooperation, or let's focus on the cooperation in the defensive field. What is the level of this cooperation?
It's a strong cooperation that is mutually beneficial and that it's based on excellent defense industry basis and also in high technology. And we are both parts very satisfied on that cooperation.